Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I guess you can call it a podcast. And we are here today to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac Season 6, Episode 8, Talk to the Braids. You guys, I am frustrated as hell because I have already recorded this in its entirety last night. And I was so proud of myself because I was going to get it uploaded to YouTube at a decent hour. And this stupid I use Wondershare Filmora. This stupid program is not saving my stuff. Like, it just crashed and I could not find it in my backups anywhere. My child, who is really good at, the computer stuff, was unable to find it. And I'm just over it. This is like the second time it happened. So now I have to go through, watch this shit again, and give a reaction all over again. It's cool. Let's get it done. Shout out to my sister Tanya, because I know you're listening, because Real Housewives of Potomac is her stuff. Listen, who am I fooling? It's her shit. Okay, because these ladies, especially Robin, irritate the entire crap out of she and I. So even after I do these, I talk about it with her, and yeah, we really get it off. Like, we let Robin have it. She has no idea. All right, you guys, let's talk about it. All right, so the episode picks up exactly where it left off. We come in right after Wendy finishes ripping Giselle a new asshole. Her and Robin, basically. And she looks like she went to the restroom, and all the girls are, talking about how they need something to eat, but they're just like, wow, blown away. Robin is the only one who is drunk off her ass, and she's like, oh my God, the delusion is setting in, and she puts that old tired robe over her face while still spilling whiskey all everywhere. And I'm like, Robin, this is why Juan is not interested in you. You need to pull yourself together because you look a hot mess. It's not even cute. All right, so it looks like they ordered some Chinese food and it got there. So Giselle takes it into the dining room and they're divvying out their food. Robin's the only one in there still drunk and talking to herself. I mean, like, really talking to herself. So after Giselle makes herself a plate, she goes in there and sits on the floor around the coffee table and she's talking to Robin. And the first thing Robin asks is, hey, are we mad at Ashley for anything? And I'm like, there you go. Where's your mind, Robin? You have no mind of your own. Why do you have to ask Giselle if you're mad at somebody? Do you feel like Ashley did something wrong? Like, what the hell is wrong with Robin? She's like a 12-year-old. She's like that cartoon, and I think I've said it before, with Spike and the little dog that just be bouncing all around the big dog. That is Giselle and Robin. And Robin just don't mind being somebody's sidekick, and it's not a good look, and she's made fun of all the time about being a sidekick, and she does nothing to change it. Nothing. So anyway, she says, yeah, because Ashley came in and she she blew shit up real quick and then she left. And Giselle is like, well, I'm not mad at her. She didn't do anything wrong to me. So in the confessional, Wendy says, I know why Giselle is coming at me. She's coming at me because she's miserable. But no, we're good over here. So, nothing you can do is going to change anything over here. She really doesn't want to eat with her. So it looks like she took 2 bites and was like, listen, I'm full. It's time to go. So the other ladies head back to the cottage. And of course, the one staying at the big house is still at the big house. And we get them going back and forth to hear about what they think about what happened that night. So listen, it seems to me that Ascala, Wendy, and Karen are having the most fun. They have the most laughs and they're enjoying themselves way more. They're less boring than the ones in the big house. Like, the ones in the big house are just bitter Bettys. Except Candace. Candace is cool. Well, this season Candace is cool. So yeah, it looks like they're stealing food. They're stealing more food than they should be to go over to the house. And Ascala, once again, she waits too long to get her ass out the door, so the door closes on her, and she's like, "Oh my God!" And I'm telling you, I'm getting my life between Ascala and this front door that she just refused to hold open herself. So yeah, she has to open the door herself, or speed up, get right behind the person who's leaving out, and you guys can continuously hold the door open. Jesus, Ascala. So the girls in the big house are over there talking about what happened, and Robin's like, how are we supposed to have a fun girls trip when people cussing people out? And I'm like, and it was well deserved, so shut up. And Candace is like, oh, she says no, she thinks we're attacking her husband. Nobody attacked her husband. And I'm like, you guys did come after him indirectly. You're putting out these rumors about him. Yes, you did. So Candace says, listen, she's very sensitive and she wears everything on her face. And Giselle says, no, that's not the Wendy that I know. So we cut back to Wendy just like laying into people. And I'm sorry, I have to agree with Giselle on this one. She's not, she may be sensitive on the inside, but Wendy will put you in your place real quick, because she did it with Ashley last season. Like, she does it real quick. So she's not the sensitive type or whatever. And I have to admit that I like that about her. So when we go over to the cottage, we have Askala, Wendy, and Karen discussing it. And Wendy says she doesn't even want to discuss it really, because Askala's like, what's happening? And then Karen says, you know what? Giselle likes to butt fuck people without letting them know. And Askala's like, So she's just like, yeah, she comes at you. You have no idea. And the bad part is she feels like she's entitled to do that. However, you are not entitled to say anything to her. Then we jump back over to the big house, and we have Giselle saying, listen, if she's going to be that sensitive, then maybe she shouldn't be with this group, because you can't just get up and run away every time. Or I think her exact words were, she can't like crumble every time. And I'm like, she did the opposite of crumble, Giselle. She put you all the way in your place. She really did. And I just don't know that they can take it. Her and Robin are unable to take someone that's giving them their shit right back. Like, she's not scared to let them know exactly what she's feeling. And Giselle wants to be her friend now. And you can tell because, well, we'll talk about it later. She wants to make up with her, and you can tell. So Candace says everyone just takes everything differently. You know, the way you guys react to something is not the way that she would normally react to something. So I do like the fact that Candace is stepping up to them, and she's telling them when they're being mean and doing too much or whatever. I don't think she's afraid of Giselle and Robin at this point. I feel like she feels she's really in with them, and she can call them on their shit when she needs to. And that's kind of what she's doing. I appreciate that. But she's like, yeah, so Wendy is probably over at the cottage. And then Giselle breaks in and says, crying on Karen's shoulder, and Candace is like, well, she may be, but that's fine. So we cut over to the cottage, and yep, they're right, because Wendy is getting her full Loretta Devine on. Oh, Eddie's a good man. That man right there. And y'all know how Loretta Devine be making those little noises afterwards. She's like, oh, oh, oh. And that's what Wendy was doing. And I'm like, shut up, Wendy. Okay, we get it. Your feelings are hurt because you feel attacked by these girls who are not your friends. And they're talking about your man who you think looks like Idris, and he does not. I'm sorry. Eddie is decent, but he's no Idris by far. But yeah, we get it. You're upset about it. But all this dramatics and theatric, I'm over Wendy with all of this stuff. It's just too much. It's too much. You guys, why does Skylar give the worried face all the time? Like, every time they show her, her face is looking like, oh, what? Huh? Like, she's either worried or she's very confused all the time. Skylar, what are you doing there? Beat it. Back over at the big house, we have Robin pretty much saying that she got attacked for nothing. And I'm like, what are you talking about, nothing? Like, Robin is so delusional. I'm trying so hard not to go in as much as I want to on Robin, because people say I'm biased, even though, again, I tell everybody who I do and do not like. I do not like Robin. I don't. I think she serves no purpose whatsoever there. She has no storyline. She's never getting married. We don't care if they do. They're miserable. They've been miserable. They've been divorced and miserable. So now if they want to be together, and they never left the house, so they've been together in the same house forever for all these years, miserable. So now if you want to put a piece of paper to that and continue to be miserable, go for it. We don't care. We don't need to see it. Let's get rid of Robin. Anyway, back to what they were talking about. We hear Robin say that because she, had something to say about her relationship, she was never happy for her in the first place. Whatever, Robin. So then we go back to the cottage, and Wendy is saying how she's very disappointed in Robin. And Askala's like, yeah, because we hung out with Robin. And, her and Wendy and Karen are like, yeah, she's totally different when she's around Giselle. And Askala's like, yeah, because I was just thinking, how are you condoning this behavior? Like, you see that she's wrong, and you're still, giving her excuses or whatever. How are you excusing this? And then she turns around, though, and she says, yeah, Robin and Giselle seem to have this blind loyalty for one another. And to me, that's called friendship. And I'm like, and to me, you shouldn't be there, Skylar. Shut up. So all the ladies decide to go to bed, and Wendy goes upstairs and she calls her husband. And she's like, oh, there's so much going on. It turned into the vacation from hell. I just got to tell you later. And he's like, okay, fine. He says, sure, sure. And she's like, okay, bye. And she kissed the phone. And he's like, yeah, I'm not kissing my phone. I'm like, I don't think any of these men like these women. But other than that, it's just nasty. It's dirty. Don't put your mouth on the phone, Wendy. Ugh, you're a well, you have a doctorate, but yeah, you're supposed to be smarter than that. You have 29 degrees, ma'am. COVID is still real. Don't put your lips on your phone. It's really nasty. So the next morning, Karen calls Candace to see if she can get her makeup done over at the big house. She tells her yes. So her and Escala head over, and Wendy says, listen, tell the girls I'll be there later after I do my segment. Karen says okay, and when she walks in, Giselle is in the pool, and Giselle ends up being in the pool over 2 hours. Who cares? But I thought it was very nice that Karen, when she walked in, they said Giselle's in the pool. She went out there and she spoke. She said good morning, and she said, well, listen, Wendy wanted us to let you guys know, and it was only Giselle there, so wanted to let you know that she'll be over when she's done doing her show. And Giselle says okay, fine. So then we see Wendy back at the cottage, and she's doing her segment, and she's all dressed up from the top. And I was like, I bet you she don't have no pants on. Like, that's just how it is. When you do Zooms and everything, you are dressed well from the top up. And then the bottom half, no, you have on either no pants or pajama pants. And I'm sure that's how Wendy was. But I'm thinking to myself, here's your substance, dumbasses. Wendy still has substance. She's still a correspondent on CNN. Like, she's still doing her thing. She's just dressing in Fashion Nova finest. Like, leave her alone. I guess. I mean, leave her alone about her clothing choices. Maybe she's a brand ambassador. We don't know. But I did like the fact that, yes, they are showing Wendy she still has substance. So what are you guys doing? You in the pool for 2 hours, Giselle. Where's Robin? Of course, Robin is dead tired and sleep because she don't get up until 3 o'clock p.m. You guys, they cut to Ashley and Michael, and I'm not going to spend any time on them because I really am upset that Michael is still on this show. I say it every time, but it's true. I feel like we openly saw him sexually assaulting people and harassing people and just being a dickhead, and for some reason he's still okay to be on this show. If that is not white privilege, I don't know what is. But I am not going to talk about him, so it's whatever. He bought her a ring with all of their birthstones. Who cares? You don't even like her. Back at the pool, Escala and Mia put their feet in, and Escala says to Giselle, girl, you started all of that yesterday. And she says, oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. That was Ashley. Ashley came in and started everything. And I'm like, you were the one who told Ashley to tell her. So you see how loyal Giselle is? Just because Ashley is not here, she's throwing her under the bus. But Giselle would not be saying that if Ashley were there, because you put her up to doing it. Giselle is just trash. So when Robin gets there, Escala says, listen, I feel like as soon as Wendy was done attacking Giselle, and I don't think she attacked Giselle, but I guess after she finished saying what she had to say to Giselle, she's like, you immediately came to Giselle's defense. And she's like, what are you talking about? Because Robin gets offended anytime you talk about Giselle or talk about her defending Giselle. Like, she's very upset about that. And of course, Escala lets it go because Giselle rambles off some crap about, oh, we don't agree on everything, and Robin does call me on my stuff. No, she doesn't, but it's whatever. So then Candace comes outside and lets them know that she needs some extras for her music video, and she would like for them to audition. Okay. So Robin says that, she's not saying rumors don't hurt people. However, she just chooses not to care. And I'm like, just because you choose not to care don't mean everyone is going to choose not to care. People are not the same. So what? And she's like, there's been so many rumors about me and Juan, and now we're we're happily engaged. And I'm like, are you really happily? You want to add that in there? Because we've been hearing and seeing what's going on. And then, of course, we get the whole thing about Wendy being super loud and super happy. And, at the engagement party, which she was, Wendy was off the hook. Maybe she had, a few too many, but she was off the chain. But she's like, that just was not genuine. Okay, Robin. So finally, Wendy comes in, and everybody's like, hello, hello. And yes, again, she has on a Fashion Nova finest. It's whatever, you guys. And Robin is rolling her eyes and doing her lips like she's 12 years old. She's such a child. And Wendy comes in and she just says a big hello to everyone or whatever. Robin doesn't speak. And when Wendy sits down on the edge of the pool, Giselle says, "Good morning, Wendy. It's good to see you." And she's like, "I would like to talk to you." And that is how I know that Giselle cares and doesn't want it with Wendy, because Giselle has not tried to make amends with people. Like, she just don't do that. I'm sorry. The only one we've ever seen her apologize to real quick or try to make amends with is Robin. That one time that they kind of got into it or whatever, and right away Giselle was like, I'm sorry. But the fact that she wants to talk to Wendy, yeah, she was feeling it. She don't want it with Wendy. She don't want any more blow-ups like that, like what Wendy did to her. But Wendy starts turning her head and everything, which I thought was childish as well. If you're not ready to talk to her, fine, just be like later or whatever. But all the turning the head, and then Giselle says, "I want to talk to you, not your braids." And I'm like, these women, how old are these women? So in the pool, Mia's showing them her tattoo, and she's saying, she can't show them anymore because it was before her C-sections. And Ascala says, "Your first C-section, was it planned?" She says, "No, it was very traumatic. He was turned upside down, and the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck 3 times." And she says her husband at the time was at the club across the street because he said it was too much for him. And then when he did come over, he brought his gaming system and set it up in the hospital room. And they're all like, "You're lying." And she's like, "No." And I'm like, girl, please stop acting so uppity because you have had some life experiences, Mia. But just then, Robin chimes in and says that Juan missed one of their kids' births as well. She tried to say it was because it happened very quickly, but then she says, "Yeah, and we were in a bad place." And I'm like, yeah, because Juan didn't fuck with you then, and he don't now. Okay. All right, so this audition, girl. Ascala, Wendy are together. They're just practicing their Beyonce walk. Nothing else. That's it. And the other three, I think they're called Twerks a Lot or something like that, unable to twerk, but Robin, Giselle, and Mia, they have some choreo. However, when they do it, nobody's doing anything the same. Like, they're not doing a choreographed routine. And then when Ascala and not Giselle, Wendy go up there, Giselle is hollering, "Oh, there's no choreo. There's no choreo." Ma'am, you guys had choreo and you still weren't doing anything alike. So what are you talking about? Then finally Karen comes out and she does a praise dance. She does a full-on praise dance. But I have to admit, I don't know how old Karen really is, but her body is banging. Okay, Karen. And of course, you can't have fun without Giselle throwing some kind of shade that just was very unnecessary. Talking about, if this is the way that Karen strips for Ray, then I need to get him a stripper. Poor baby. And I'm like, you don't even like Ray because Ray said your looks is about to fade. You don't fool with Ray. You was just trying to take a dig at Karen. Shut up, Giselle. All right, so then we have the ladies that are on their way to Siri for Karen's swearing in or giving the key, whatever it is she's having. She's being honored. And it looks like Mia is the best well dressed. Like, she's dressed better than Karen and Wendy, because Wendy, we know what she's wearing. And Karen just looks like she's wearing actually Fashion Nova finest as well. Like, it was just very casual. And I'm like, okay. But then when she gets there, we understand why. Because it was mostly just Karen's family. I mean, that's sweet, but it was just like 10 people on the stairs. Okay, that's nice. Ray was there. He brought flowers. And then as she's done, she's saying how she's honoring her mother and father. And she came up on their backs or whatever. So it was a very nice speech. Then Ray comes up and he's like, "Did you tell him about the other thing?" And she says, "Oh, yeah. Ladam is, we're expanding into candles and aromatherapy." And the camera pans to Wendy, who is looking like, what the fuck? We just talked about my candles and now you're doing candles? And so the producer asked Karen, "Why didn't you mention anything about your candles when Wendy came to talk to you about hers?" She says, "Well, we were here talking about Wendy. It was all about Wendy." And she says, "Well, anyway, my candles are nothing like her candles because hers has 1 wick, mine has 3. And mine can, cover a larger span of the house." And I'm like, that shit is so shady. What do you guys think? Do you think Karen was already in the works of this or no? That's crazy, though. I would think that when Wendy came over, she would have been like, "Oh, you're doing candles? Me too." But maybe she just didn't want to give up her ideas because they would have been going back, where she'd have been like, "Mine are 3 wicks, though, and this and that." And maybe she didn't want to give her that. I don't know what to believe, but I don't know, it's a little shady, Karen. So Wendy felt away, and I don't blame her. So back over at the house, these girls that are left are going to play tennis, and Ascala's driving like a bat out of hell. It's fun. I'm not mad at it. But when they get there, the producers are so stupid. Candace is trying to hit the ball, and every time she misses, they have the music go. They have the music going, and then when she misses, it just stops, or either goes, I'm like, they so foul. But eventually, they get into it, and Robin and Giselle wins. They're supposed to do this whole foot rub thing. They're not doing that. So this is where we get Robin saying how she's just so offended by what Wendy said because second time mentioning it. She was the loudest one at my engagement party. So the fact that you said that means you really were not happy for me. And I know who's not coming to my shower. And I know who's not coming to my wedding. And I'm like, that would be no one. No one's coming to that because it's not happening. So hush your face, Robin. Nobody's coming to this imaginary event. So now on the way back, the girls stop at 7-Eleven. They get lots of Slurpees and snacks or whatever. And then we see the other girls at home getting ready for dinner. So Karen calls to let Candace know that they're on their way. And Candace is like, okay, well, wear your your cocktail dresses to dinner. And she's like, cocktail dresses? And she says, well, just not jeans. And then they pan to Giselle in jeans. And she was full on feeling her little outfit because she was just dancing in the mirror. And I'm like, she's so tacky. I swear to God, she's so tacky. Yeah. Oh, but also in the car as they're heading home, Mia tells Wendy that when she left, things got worse because they said that she was a weak bitch. They were like, well, she can't be in this group if she's going to be a weak bitch. And they were like, what? And I'm like, Mia. So at dinner, Giselle comes down and she's like, hi, chefs. Do you guys mind if I make me some hot chocolate over here? And they're like, no, go ahead. Robin comes down and she's like, what are you putting in your hot chocolate? Fireball? And Giselle is like, want me to make you one? And I'm like, you don't have to ask her. You already know she wants some Fireball. Not to mention the fact that sounds disgusting. I've never had Fireball, but I know it's like cinnamon alcohol or something, right? I don't know. It just sounds disgusting to me. But Robin is not going to pass up a chance to have, a drink. So Candace comes in and her little pink, what do you call it? Pink lacy number is cute on her. I like it. And I think she wants a Fireball drink too. So I'm like, she probably ain't even making hot cocoa. It's just cocktails. So the ladies at the cottage are coming down and they all look very nice. So Karen shows Escala the key. She says, oh, you have a key to the city? And she says the county. And she does that like 3 times in the episode too, where she makes sure she corrects them. It's not the city, it's the county. Okay, it's all good, Karen. You got a key. That's all that matters. So the girls that's staying at the house are sitting at the table already, and Mia's saying she had a good time in Siri. She had a good time getting to know Wendy. Know you guys are having your issues, and then Giselle says, yeah, and when she's ready to talk like a grown-up, we can talk. And Candace says, listen, you have been picking apart every thread she put on, and then they're discussing it as the other 3 are coming through the door. So while the girls are coming through the door, you hear Giselle saying, yeah, it's not like, I'm not like, ooh, I don't want to talk to her now. And then Wendy walks in and says, good evening to everyone, to the room. And of course, Giselle says nothing. Robin says nothing. And I'm like, if you're not talking to her, at least be cordial and speak. It doesn't kill you to speak, as my grandma would say. So before dinner, the ladies go into the kitchen because it's buffet style and they have a shot. And Candace does a toast and says, to friendship and forgiveness. And Wendy says, what kind of toast is that? Boo to your toast. Your toast sucks. She said, didn't you see what these ladies just did to me? She says, let me make the toast. She says her toast would be about women who are in real relationships with men who don't cheat on them. And I'm like, you talking big stuff, Wendy. You better be sure. And see what I'm saying? They put the rumor out there that we knew nothing about, and now we're thinking that maybe Eddie isn't, but he probably isn't cheating, but I don't know. But yeah, she's sounding real sure. She better stop using that as her comeback all the time. So at the table, Robin tells Karen congratulations, and she says, "Oh, thank you, Robin. I appreciate that." And just then, her phone rings, and it's Juan, and she says, "Hi, my non-existent partner. How are you?" And he's like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Don't you know that this is a fraud? This whole thing is a fraud." And he's not about the games. He's like, "Listen, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's whatever. We'll talk later." And I'm like, all this super pettiness, I can't with Robin. Like, I honestly cannot with Robin. And I really am trying to hold back going in on Robin, y'all. But this shit that she's doing is irritating me because she's so childish. It's ridiculous. Who does that? Like, you're grown. If you have an issue with something she said, just say it. Who does that? And then you involving this man who, because I had to re-record this, you guys. I know I said something about it in the first one, but I didn't mention the fact that she talked to him earlier, like the day before or maybe earlier that day, and he was getting a haircut, and just in the middle of her talking, he cut her off and said, okay, I gotta go. And she's like, dang, what? He's like, listen, I'm getting a lineup, I gotta go. And he hangs up, and I'm like, why don't fuck with you? He don't. And I don't know why you don't see that, and you continue to make yourself look stupid on this show. But anyway, I digress so far away from this argument. But yeah, that's what happened at the table. Robin hangs up the phone with him, and she is so delighted with herself. Like, she has this smirk on her face, and she's just playing with her braids. And then she goes, Wendy, are you ignoring me too, or just Giselle? And I swear to God, if I were Wendy, I would have been like, yes. And if I were not ignoring you before, I'm definitely ignoring you now because you're petty. But no, Wendy says, no, I'm not ignoring you. And as a matter of fact, if I say anything to offend you, then I apologize. And she goes, what? And the faces that Robin made, girl, you should not. But she's like, what? What are you talking about? You know, the stuff that you came at me with was really vile. And you said that, you know, you were the loudest one. So again, we have to hear how she was the loudest one at the engagement party. And so the fact that you turned on me that quickly means you were never my friend. And that's what you felt about me the whole time. So Wendy says, okay, you know, I was mad at the time. I said whatever. And in the confessional, Wendy says, listen, it hurt her feelings what I said to her, obviously. But Giselle is constantly saying things like this to people, and you defend her. It's not right. So she tells Robin, look, you being a mom, I would have thought that you would have had my back in terms of me doing something for myself and being like, good for you. And she says, listen, I am happy that you did something for yourself. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that your personality has changed and the way you carry yourself has changed. She's like, I'm not saying you have to change it. I'm just saying that I noticed it, and I'm hoping everything is good in the hood. And Wendy's like, yeah, everything's good in the hood. And again, she offers up an apology that Robin is like, yeah, I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. And I'm like, I don't believe anything that comes out of your mouth with your turtleneck cheetah dress on. Robin. Now, for some reason, after all this happens, they let Mia control everything. And she says, okay, but can we get to the real issue? Because the real person you have something with is Miss Giselle. And she points over at Giselle. And I'm like, who is this girl? One minute she's on Giselle and them team. The next minute she's on, like, she's a flip. She just wants her 15 minutes. And I did like Mia, but now not so much. Because Mia is just in the shit, and she doesn't know what she's even in. She doesn't even know what she's talking about, which we are about to learn. So Wendy says, yeah, Giselle, why is it that I heard as soon as I left, you called me a weak bitch? And she's like, who said that? And then we had a full-on Portia moment where everybody at the table was like, who said that? Who said that? Then Mia, just loud and wrong. She says, you did. And I'm like, girl, you are so wrong. And they're like, no, she didn't. So Candace finally says, no, I didn't. No, she didn't. I was there, and she didn't say anything like that. They're like, well, what did she call her? And she's like, she didn't call her anything. So everybody's looking at Mia, and they're kind of smiling or whatever. But she's like, I could have sworn I heard it. And Giselle's like, Mia, just stop. In the confessional, Giselle says, Giselle gonna say enough crazy stuff out of her own mouth. I don't need you to add anything. And I agree. I just feel like there's enough drama on its own. Like, don't add to it, making up stuff, talking about you interpreted it that way. And it's just ridiculous. Mia and Escala, shush. So Wendy says, listen. I just want to say this. Whether you apologize to me or not doesn't mean anything, because having his ring And I'm like, Lord, I think it's just the way she gives her reads are just like rehearsed and they just come off really, girl. Being in a committed relationship is all the vindication I need. And they're like, vindication from what? And yeah, Wendy just needs to stop with the let me try to read her down. Just say what you feel and get it out. But who cares about Eddie? We don't want to keep hearing about Eddie. And again, she just keep that's her only read that she keep coming with is the fact that she's married and she has Eddie. And I feel like, listen, you can't put nothing past nobody. I don't know if he is or isn't cheating, but I feel like that shouldn't be your only read, Wendy. Come again. She tells her there is nothing that matters coming from you. And everybody's looking like, up. And Karen is all like, hello. And she's snapping and everything. And she's like, oh, Wendy, you are inspiration. You are inspiration. And I'm like, Karen is so stupid. She's like, she told her. Y'all, the stuff that Karen was doing had me cracking up. And Giselle said, yeah, anybody at the table could have said, listen, I poop and it's pink. And Karen would have been like, oh, you're an inspiration. Y'all, I had to go back and look. Karen said, she did that thing. Oh my God, it sounded like the clumps when he was like, Hercules. And the mom was just so proud. But yeah, so again, Giselle says, Wendy, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to talk. And I'm like, again, that just goes to prove she don't want it with Wendy. She don't. She want to make up with Wendy as soon as Wendy is ready. So Robin, you need to calm down, cool your jets, because your leader is about to try to make up with her. And then what are you going to do? So we'll see what happens. Then they do the whole mid-season thing. Looks like it's going to get good. Looks like Mia's husband is a little over-sexual. He's just hypersexual and I don't like it. It's giving off creep vibes, but we'll see. All right, you guys, thank you so much. If you are still here, you are the real MVP and I appreciate you. So please like, comment, subscribe if you have not. Subscribing is so very important and I really need it. I really could use it. Do your girl a solid. All right, and I will see you guys in the next video. Smooches.